If someone's told you your meter is at the end of its life, dying, expired, has to go this month, start here. An older electricity meter can be certified to run for anywhere from 10 years to around 25. And reaching that date does not mean you're legally required to accept a smart meter. Not now, not ever. There's a real rule buried under the sales script, and a sales script wrapped around the real rule. Later, I'll show you the one-line consumer sites describe as the most common trick for getting around a no, and the short question that answers it. Nobody ever sits you down and explains meter certification. You get a phone call, or a letter, or a knock, and the person on the other end knows the rules while you're hearing them for the first time. The meter isn't the villain here, the one-sided conversation is. So, let's level it. In the next few minutes, what end of life actually means, when a replacement genuinely can be required, the smart meter claim that simply isn't true, and the exact words to use when they push. Everything here was checked this week against gov.uk, Ofcom, and current consumer guidance. Sources in the description. This channel runs one rules-checked video a week. If you'd rather know your rights before the call than after it, subscribing is how you catch the next one. 1. What that phrase actually means. Every electricity and gas meter used for billing has to be certified, tested, and confirmed accurate. But here's the thing the sales call skips. The fixed expires on this date system is mainly an older electricity meter story. Older electricity meters were certified for a set number of years, commonly 10, sometimes 15, 20, or on some types 25. That certificate life is set and policed by a government body, the Office for Product Safety and Standards, OPSS for short. Not your supplier. Your supplier reads the date, they didn't decide it. And here's the part that doesn't add up with the panic. Newer electricity meters, and gas meters, which run under different measuring rules, are generally monitored a different way. Instead of a fixed expiry on each one, a sample of the type is tested over time, and the type is only retired when too many drift out of accuracy, which means a great many meters have no personal expiry date at all. There's more. Even where a certified date exists, it isn't always a hard wall. The regulator can extend a meter type's life when testing shows it's still accurate. End of life can be pushed back. The first thing to keep in your pocket, end of life, is a certificate date, sometimes an extendable one, and for a lot of meters, there's no date at all. 2. So how do you check your own without taking anyone's word for it? Start at the meter itself. On an older electricity meter, look for a small seal or stamp with a year on it. The catch most people miss. That's usually the year the meter was certified, the start of the clock, not the end. It's not an expiry date. To turn it into a rough expiry, you need two things, that certification year and your meter's make and model, printed on the front. OPSS publishes a public list, the Register of Approved Electricity Meters, giving each type a certification period, often 10 years, sometimes 15, 20, or 25. Add the period to the year, and that's your rough end date. Citizens Advice sets out this exact method and has a checker that does the lookup for you. There's a quicker tell too. A newer meter, certified under the modern metrology rules, carries a mark beginning CE, then an M, then 2 digits, the year. Citizens Advice is clear that that kind of meter has no old-style expiry date at all. Spot that mark, and the end-of-life line has little to stand on. So a meter certified for 20 years, sealed in 2002, is about due. The same model certified for 25 wouldn't be. The type decides it, not the age. And the shortcut, if squinting at a seal isn't for you, ask your supplier for the exact certification date on record and whether it's genuinely expired, in writing. There's a precise way to word that, coming up in the most important part of this video. The payoff, you can date your own meter from 2 numbers on its face, or find out it has no expiry date to worry about at all. 3. Now the honest half, because the accurate version is stronger than the sales one. Sometimes a replacement genuinely can be required. If an older meter's certification really has expired, your supplier is required to replace it. A meter that's out of certification can't lawfully be used to bill you. That's the actual law, under the Electricity Act of 1989 and the Gas Act of 1986, and it's enforced by OPSS. Same if the meter is faulty or unsafe. And there's one worth naming on its own, because it's live right now. If you have an older RTS meter, the radio Teleswitch type, used mainly for electric storage heating, and off-peak tariffs like Economy 7, often where there's no gas supply, the radio signal those meters depend on has been switched off, phased out through the middle of 2026. Without it, they can stop controlling your heating and hot water properly. Those genuinely do need replacing. If you might have one, look for a box near the meter labeled Radio Teleswitch, contact your supplier. That one's the real thing, not a sales line. So, we're required to replace an expired or unsafe meter is true. You can't simply refuse forever and expect nothing to happen. Two things soften that. First, this is about the meter being replaced, not which kind you end up with. Hold on to that. It's where the whole thing turns in a minute. Second, a routine swap costs you nothing, and no legitimate engineer collects money at your door for it. The payoff here, if it's truly expired, unsafe, or an RTS meter, yes, it's getting replaced. That part's real, and it's free to you. 4. The claim that isn't true. It's the law, you must have a smart meter. This is the one consumer sites call the most common tactic for getting around a refusal. It works because it sits right next to something true. Yes, an expired or unsafe meter must be replaced. No, the law does not require you to accept a smart meter. Here's the mechanism, because it's more useful than a flat denial. The smart meter rollout runs through supplier license conditions and the wider smart metering framework, rules that put the obligation on the energy companies to pursue installations. Those rules point at the company. They do not create a general legal duty on every household to accept one. The government's own guidance says the same thing. There is no obligation on you, the consumer, to have a smart meter fitted. So, you must, by law, quietly swaps who the law is talking to. It's aimed at the company's rollout targets, not your front room. Let me ask you something. When someone told you it was the law, did you take it at face value? Or did a small part of you think, that doesn't sound quite right? That instinct was correct. The payoff, the law says you must have a smart meter, is false. The law says they must offer. Whether you accept it is yours. 5. This is the most important part of the video, so if you only keep one section, make it this one. Put the two facts together. A genuinely expired or unsafe meter must be replaced. You are not required to accept a smart meter. So, what happens when a change really is due and you'd still rather not have a smart one? Start here. If the meter isn't actually expired and they're leaning on a vague safety or it's old line, ask them to put the reason in writing and show the evidence. The consumer group, which advises exactly that. A real safety issue can be evidenced. A sales nudge usually can't. And when a replacement genuinely is due, here's what you can and can't ask for. You can ask whether a suitable traditional non-smart meter is available. But suppliers aren't required to keep old-style meters in stock, and for some setups, certain prepayment or storage heating arrangements, a like-for-like may simply not exist. You can also ask whether they'll fit a smart-capable meter without using its automatic reading functions. Just don't take "it'll send nothing" as read. Availability varies, so ask the supplier to confirm, in writing, exactly what the meter will and won't transmit. Now the honest caveat. In practice, suppliers have nearly run down their stock of traditional meters as they chase the 2030 rollout. So the realistic offer is often a smart meter, and the real question becomes what it transmits, not whether you can hold out for an old-style one. Know both before the visit, not during it. The payoff in words you can actually use. Please confirm in writing whether my meter's certification has genuinely expired. If a replacement is required, please tell me whether a non-smart meter is available. And if not, exactly what the smart meter you fit will transmit. That one message resets the whole conversation. 6. What they can and can't do at your door. A pushy appointment letter, on its own, does not give an engineer permission to force their way in. If you don't agree to access, the supplier normally has to follow the proper notice and legal process, which, at the far end, can include applying to a court for a warrant. There are statutory entry powers and notice rules around all this, but the headline holds, an appointment letter is not a right of entry. And under the Rights of Entry Act of 1954, you're not automatically liable to a penalty just because you turned away someone who arrived without a warrant. That's not a nudge to slam the door. Engaging is almost always better than stonewalling. It's the fact under the pressure, "We're coming Tuesday, let us in," is a request, not a power. A quick word on scams. Your supplier arranges meter work through your account. A genuine engineer is booked in with you and carries identification. No real meter swap needs your bank details, and nobody collects a fee on the step. If a call or text rushes you toward a link or payment, that's the tell. And you never have to pay anyone to assert any of this. Citizens Advice and Age. UK will talk it through for free. The Energy Ombudsman handles complaints if a supplier oversteps. One footnote. All of this is England, Scotland, and Wales. Northern Ireland runs a separate energy market with its own regulator and its own metering arrangements. So check locally there. So, the loop from the start. That line consumer sites call the most common trick? It's the two halves glued together. Your meter's at end of life, so by law, it has to be a smart meter. Half true, half false, banking on you not knowing which is which. Now you do. This week, if you've had that call, send one message and ask two things. Has my certification actually expired? And what are my options if a replacement's due? In writing. And send this to the one person who'd never watch a video about meters, but keeps getting these calls. If you want the companion piece, your full right to say no, and exactly how to word it, that one's linked next.